welcome to this week's video. So today I'm going to be talking about Procreate 5X and all the new features that came with it. Procreate is a program on the iPad that is currently £10 on the App Store, which to be honest is a complete steal. I did make a video a year ago talking about the pros and cons of Procreate, the iPad, and I compared it to different types of tablets. So I will link that down below in the description if you want to go and check that out, as I do go into a lot more detail about Procreate there. This video will mostly just focus on Procreate 5X, the newest update that has just come out. So I'm gonna go and show you guys all the new features. So I might as well start off by opening up Procreate. So when you get into Procreate, you can see that pretty much everything looks the same as it did before. There's not much different visually from Procreate 5 to Procreate X. However, when you go into it, you can definitely see there are a lot more new features that weren't there before. So I'm going to start off just by making a new canvas. So here you go, you can see again here it all looks very similar. But if you do go through these different options, you can see there are a few new features that weren't here before. So I'm just going to take you through each of them and give you my opinion on them. So I'm going to import an illustration I've done previously just to give you some examples and show you how the new features work. So I've just imported this as its own layer. This is an illustration I did a week or so ago. So to start off, I'm going to show you the new options under the Actions tool. So as you can see here, not much has changed. If you go into Canvas, you can now see that you have the option to add a reference. So that can either show you your current canvas, or you can insert an image from somewhere else. As you can see here, I've imported this little bear illustration, but you can import anything you want. So if you're like drawing an illustration of a girl and you want to get references for her poses, you can then use this little window to do that, to keep the references separate to the layers, so you're not kind of cluttering up your canvas. And you're keeping your references separated. So next up, we're going to go to the Adjustment tab. This is where the most things have been changed. There's so many new features here that weren't here before, and I'm really excited about trying these out. So you've got your normal hue, saturation, color balance, curves, but then you've got your gradient map, which is new. Then you've got all these blurs, the noise, sharpen, bloom, glitch, halftone, chromatic aberration that weren't there before. So with color balance, you can see here, I'll open it up to show you, but this is what it looks like when you open all of them now. Before, this wasn't a feature, but you have an option between drawing directly on the entire layer that you've already got selected in your layer tabs, or you can select the pencil. And when you select the pencil, you just kind of colour over just a section of it. Like you can see here, I'm just going to colour over this little bit of her dress. And then here I can adjust the colours. And it's just going to adjust the bit I've drawn over. So this is great to easily, quickly change certain colours of things that you want to be different. And it means you don't have to adjust the whole picture, which I think is a really great feature and isn't something available so easily to do in Photoshop. So I definitely think this is a good thing for them to add, especially as it's so easy to use as you're just drawing directly onto the screen like you would normally. The gradient map, I have played around a little bit with this, but I'm not sure if it's a feature I will necessarily use that much. But I'll show you what it looks like in layer. So as you can see here, you can have like different color palettes down here, gradient color palettes down here at the bottom that you can select, and you can alter them. You can add in more colors or change the colors, whatever you want to do. Personally, this isn't going to be a feature I feel like I'm going to use that much, just because the kind of illustrations I make aren't really needed to use this kind of feature, if that makes sense. I definitely think this is something that you'd probably use more if you were editing photos rather than making an illustration. But I can see why some people might find it cool and useful. And it will probably work well as well if you're doing something with graphics too. But for my kind of work, it's just not something I will ever want to use. So these blur options have been available on Procreate for a while now, but obviously as you have the pencil tool, you can now go in and blur things. I don't think it's something I probably will use that much, but it might be good if you want to do some kind of cool effect with certain features. But I like how it works with the pencil tool, as it just helps, you know, give that preciseness that the pencil option does. This is probably something more suited for photographers who want to blur out entire backgrounds. By changing the brush's opacity, you can change how harsh the blur is, and also with the pressure of your pen too. So if you press softer, you will get more of a nice soft blur. Then if you go really hard into it, it can, you know, I don't know, you probably wouldn't want to use it like that because I think that's a little bit too blurred. But if you play around with it, you might be able to get some really cool effects for photos. But I don't think it will be a tool I'm going to use in my illustrations personally. Then we have the noise tool, which you can see that I've actually already used on this illustration. I really like this effect because I really like how the texture of adding noise to your illustrations adds to it. So I think it's a feature that people have been doing for a while now, and it's great that you can add it on in individual spots and work it into your illustration just to give it that extra effect on areas you might want it to be added to. You can also adjust how the noise tool works, so you can, you know, make the turbulence heavier or softer, and you can make the noise particles bigger or smaller. I'm not sure why you'd want to ever go this big, but maybe you would. I personally wouldn't. You can also change the shape of the noise too, but I didn't really know there was different shapes that you could pick for noise, but I guess there is. There's not really much difference there, except the colour kind of changes because, you know, you can see how the shapes are filled in there. Sharpen is much the same as the noise tool, so I'm not going to bother showing you that. But then the bloom, glitch, halftone and chromatic aberration add so much more to your illustrations, and I think they're really cool tools for them to add, and they're not effects that you can easily use on Photoshop. Like, you might be able to get that effect using Photoshop, but it's never going to be as good as it is on Procreate. The bloom tool, I'd say, is kind of like a burn tool, to be honest. I guess with that one you can access in Photoshop, but you can just add like lighting to certain parts, and I guess if I use different brushes I could do it even softer. So if I use a airbrush tool, it can give a really nice soft effect, like the sun's hitting the character's face or something like that, which I think could be quite nice, especially when used in eyes and things like that. I think this will be a great tool for people who have a really painterly kind of style. As mine are kind of very, you know, illustrative, it might not be something I use too much, but I think some artists will love using this tool. I think it'd be good for making like little stars glow as well. Like, look how cute that is. So it might be something you use quite a lot, because I do make a lot of illustrations using stars, and it is nice just to add that extra little bit of glow to my character's cheeks. Like, I think that looks really nice. Like, I think that looks really nice just to add a little bit of extra something to the illustration. So the glitch one is something that I wasn't really expecting Procreate to ever come up with. There's definitely some features I still wish Procreate would come up with, but I think this is still quite a cool, exciting tool. As you can see here, you can add like little glitches to your character, so it looks like the computer's glitched, but like you just work it into the illustration, and it actually kind of works around your illustration. So you can see here it's kind of like duplicating things, it's taking colours, as well as obviously using colours that you'd see in a typical glitch, like the greens and things, and the lines and things like that. As you can see, I'm drawing around my character, and it's making adjustments when there's like a really big change in colour, so it's not doing it all over. You know, there are spots when it's not doing it, but you can increase the sizes of the glitches, the amount of glitches that are on the illustration, and then how they're zoomed in or not, which kind of just gives it a different effect. So here you got like more lines and stuff, and then when it gets bigger and bigger, you know, it's less glitchy and it's all like individual squares and stuff, if that makes sense. You have more, the smaller it is, the more like liney it is, and then as it gets bigger you can see all the different blocks. And I think that's really nice, as you can get like different effects, and you can do like TV effects and things like that for graphics. Again, I'm not sure how often I would use something like this, but maybe if I ever design like a character that's inspired by technology or something, this would be a really cool effect to use. Maybe I should design a character who has like technology superpowers, and she has all these little glitches coming out of her hands, and you know, and then working the glitches into other pieces of the illustration. So next is the halftone tool. I'm going to apply it to a whole layer first, just so you can see what these tools look like when they're applied to the whole thing. But this is what it looks like when you apply it. So you can move your pen or your fingers to make the dots bigger or smaller. This is a really nice effect, and it will be good for making like digital illustrations that look like they've been. I really like how that works, and I think that'd be really fun for some pop art inspired work. You can change it as well, so you can make it more like a screen print or even a newspaper and have it in black and white dots, which I think is really cool, and will probably be really fun to use on photos to make them look like they're from old-fashioned newspapers. But I guess you can also do that with illustrations too. So when you use the pencil for this tool, which I really like, you can just work in and make certain bits just stand out, and I think this is really fun. I think this looks really cool, and just adds that little bit of extra something to your illustrations without being too overwhelming. Again, as with Procreate, the pressure you put on using your Apple Pencil or your finger can adjust how the halftone looks. So if I do it really softly, you can see it looks a lot more opaque than these bits here, which, you know, I've drawn at full pressure. But I think this could be a fun way to just add some texture to your work. I think the newspaper one is really fun, and I definitely see a lot of manga artists using the tool like this. So next off, we've got the Chromatic Aberration, which I think will be really good for like adding shadows and stuff on, but also it will work really well if you're using the glitch tool, because look at that, look, it's just like my character's having some kind of out of body experience. But I think that looks really cool, and I like how kind of that it gives that 3D effect to it. So this is something I think I would definitely want to play around with using the glitch tool. You can also alter how the effect like kind of sits on your artwork. So you can see here that as I'm moving this slider up and down, my work's kind of separating itself away even more from the effect. Using this little circle here, you can kind of adjust where the effect sits on your illustration. And then I'm just going to use a little glitch tool to work in some small glitches. Yeah, I think that could look really interesting on a illustration. So next I'm going to look at the new tool selection tools. So there isn't much new things here, but one of the things is the color fill tool. So if you've seen any of my other iPad videos, I don't really like the fact that there is still a new shape tool. So obviously you can, you know, draw the shapes, and there you go, you get a circle. But as you can see, you know, it's not a perfect circle. Even it's definitely more of an oval, and it's not really ideal for getting a perfect shape. It's not the greatest tool. I like it, but it's still not the same as having a shape tool. However, there is sort of a new solution with the color fill tool. So with the color fill tool, you just select this little button down here, and then you like select the shape you want it to be. And then, you know, you select your color. So I'm going to go for this bright red, and then I'm just going to draw an ellipse, and it immediately gets filled with color. Again, there isn't any way to get a perfect circle. You know, you still could draw what you think is a circle, but it might be more of an oval. But at least this way, you know, it's more perfectly round than the holding down shape technique. But you can do this with anything, so you can just, you know, draw a shape freehand, and there you go, it is now automatically filled in. I definitely think this is probably more of a tool for graphic artists, because I personally prefer colouring in everything I do by hand because of the brushes I use. But I do think that this would work well for some artists, and I probably will use it myself at some point anyway. So for your little select tool options, you can now snap stuff. So I'm going to make a new layer actually, and I'm just going to quickly draw a quick circle, or, you know, a shape. So for snapping, if you turn that on, you can change how far away the item snaps. And basically this is a great way to quickly snap your object into the place you want, so you can see like where the middle lines are, where the next line after that is, and so on. So you can kind of easily plan out where you want all of your objects on your page. It helps you make sure that things are in line and where you want them to be. So I'm just going to create a new layer and a new shape, and you can kind of like, you know, helps you snap to the middle of this object, the side of it, etc, etc. And I think this is a feature that is needed on Procreate, and it's something I definitely think I have kind of missed a little bit from Photoshop. I don't think it's a tool I'm too bothered about not having, but I definitely will use it, especially when I'm just doing quick little graphics and illustrations that I want to be used as a graphic. It can help me place things correctly, and I think it will definitely be useful when placing text. So there is another option that has been added on from the kind of select tools. I'm going to draw a quick shape again. Let me just draw a really quick smiley face so I can show you how this works. So you've got your normal little rotate tool up here, this green little handle up here, so that you can just use to, like, you know, rotate around your canvas. But then you may be able to see down here, we've got this new one here, which you can see here, it actually changes the boundaries of the boxes. So that rotates separately to the object, which then means when you like snap it into place, when you like that, then when I rotate it, the object rotates like this instead. Then when I rotate it, you can then see that that is now in the middle. So there is, you know, you can make sure everything's nicely presented and organized on your page, and, you know, make sure all like the size and everything is correct. I don't think, again, it's not really a feature you'd probably use that much with illustration, just because it's more of a graphics tool, I think. But I think it would be useful for people who do like really big layered illustrations, who want to be able to move things around, and maybe even with animations as well. But for like a normal illustration, probably not so much. But I definitely think it could be useful for animations. As an illustrator and a content creator, one of the most annoying things I find when I share my Procreate speed draws is that you can often see my references on the canvas as well, but you can actually insert a private layer so you won't be able to see your references. Obviously, if you already have the reference layer, that is sort of the same thing. However, if you are drawing over a photo or over something, you could then hide that illustration. So I will give you an example now. So to create a private layer, what you need to do is you need to import a new photo, but you need to slide it across and select insert a private photo. So I'm gonna go and select the photo I want to be my private photo, which is just going to be this fairy illustration again, but now you won't be able to see it when I draw over the top of it for a speed draw. So I'll just quickly give you an example. So I'm just gonna draw around her. And then I'm gonna go and watch the video. So I'm just gonna, you know, do a replay. So you can't actually see me drawing over the top of the illustration. It's just completely gone because it's now a private layer. The one thing I do have to say about this feature is it's going to be really easy for people to trace over other artists' work, and, you know, be able to share it as a speed paint and be like, oh no, look, you can't see that I've traced it, I drew it all by hand. And I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. But I can see why some people might like it, and it will come useful for people who want to practice and learn things and stuff like that. And you know, maybe if they're like editing a graphic, or even, you know, when you're animating or something like that, it could be a useful tool. But I'm not quite so sure on it, because I think it definitely could be a way for people to trace with other people's work and steal them. Let me know what you think down below in the comments, what you think of this tool, because I think it's a good idea and Procreate have the right idea, just it will be too easy for people to claim that they've drawn something when they definitely haven't. And unfortunately people do steal work and trace over things, so this is just encouraging it even more, because you know, you can prove that you know, you've drawn it when, you know, you've just traced over it using a private layer. So let me know what you think. I'd love to hear what you guys think about it. There is one last feature I want to show you guys. This one I think is super cool and a really good idea, especially when you want to kind of get inspiration for your artwork, and that is the new camera palette tool. So I'm just gonna go over into my palettes here and hit this little plus button, and you can see here that you can create a new palette, a new one from camera, a new from file, and a new from photos. So I'm gonna show you the new from photos first, just so I don't have to move my actual camera around. But you can basically, you know, go in, select a photo, and then it makes an entire canvas out of that photo. When you've taken a photo you want to use for inspiration, you can actually use the colours in there. So if you like, for example, drawing a portrait, you can take a photo of the person, and then you can create a palette using all the colours in that person's face. So you can also do the same again from a file, which is much, you know, from a file from your iPad files. I'm not going to bother showing that, as I don't actually have any images in that, but it'll work much the same as from the photos. And then there's the new from camera palette. So you can kind of see the inside of my phone case there, but I'm just going to move you guys so I can show you how it works against something in real life. So as you can see, I'm standing in front of my pegboard, but I'm just gonna take my iPad, move the case out of the way, and you can just see there as I move it across, the pegboard is picking up all the colours. So I'm just gonna put it in front of my brightly coloured clock, so you can kind of see the colours on that there. So you can see here it's picking up all the colours on my colour wheel clock. So I think that that is a really cool feature, and it's definitely something I want to use in the future. If you guys want to see a YouTube video of me creating an illustration from my camera palette, let me know, because that could be a fun video for me to do. I could take my iPad, take some photos somewhere nice, and create illustrations just using the palettes that I got from the photos. So let me know in the comments below if you would like to see that. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions about Procreate or the iPad and how I feel about drawing on it, please let me know down below in the comments below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. If you did enjoy this video and you found it useful, please give it a huge thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you'll be the first to be notified for when I next upload. And if you haven't already, don't forget to go and check out my other iPad/Procreate videos I have made previously on this channel, which I have linked down below in the description. Also, my social media accounts are down below too, as well as my shop where I sell small gifts, painted denim jackets, and my art prints. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Bye!